Hello, everybody. My name is Jacob, and I like sports. Welcome back to another edition of JK Sports. Before I actually get into what I want to talk to you guys about, I want to first let you guys know that this should be the last video that I make that I'm going to be using my current Logitech webcam. Unfortunately, with this, the ability to produce good quality film isn't as high as I would like it to be. So going on forward, I just got this as a gift for Christmas. I got the Canon Vixia HF R800. If you guys know anything about cameras, hopefully either you can give me advice or tell me how good this is. I've seen plenty of reviews on it. I've heard from actually a few guys that this is a good quality camera. I know for a fact it's going to allow me to record in higher quality, and hopefully I'll be able to take the footage off here and be able to use it in a editing software app. Right now I'm recording on a Chrome extension, which doesn't allow me to take what I record and edit it. So hopefully I need to get a memory card for this. But until I get that, I have to use this. So hopefully this will be the last video. But once I get a memory card for this, I'll be using this camera and hopefully be able to produce better quality for you guys. So that being said, the topic I want to be discussing today is the college football playoff. Now, as things stand, there is only 4 teams that are going to be participating in the college football playoff, and for the arguments that I'm going to set, I'm going to go with the assumption that it is staying at 4 teams. There's been whispers, there's been discussions that it could get expanded to 8, and for this 1 year, maybe that's the right idea. I don't think 8 is a good idea going forward, and I could make a video breaking that down. However, for this season, it might be 8. However, just for the discussion that we're going to be having today, I'm going to leave it at 4 teams. And those 4 teams could be any of these lot, being Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Florida, Iowa State, and Cincinnati. Basically, everybody in the top 9 outside of Georgia, because Georgia doesn't play in a conference championship game and they're not rated high enough. So there's a solid 7 or 8 teams that I do believe has a chance. And what this is going to come down to is all the games that are going to take place tomorrow being the conference championship games. We have number 1 Alabama playing number 7 Florida in the SEC championship game. ACC championship is going to be the rematch of Clemson versus Notre Dame. Of course, now Trevor Lawrence is healthy. He doesn't have COVID, so he's going to be able to play in the game. Big Ten championship, number 4 Ohio State against number 14 Northwestern. And the Big 12 championship game of Iowa State, who's ranked number 6, and Oklahoma, who's number 10. The way I see it is Alabama, regardless if they lose against Florida, they're in. Where they'll be seeded if they lose is the only thing up for debate. However, I do believe Alabama is the best team in the country. If they lose to Florida, maybe not the best team. However, they're still certainly in the top 4. And Notre Dame also coming undefeated like Alabama. I still believe, unless they get blown out by Ohio State. If Notre Dame gets blown out by Clemson, maybe you drop them down out of the top 4. However, I do believe both those teams are locked. So that leaves the number 3 and the number 4 seeds for basically the rest of the bunch. That being Clemson, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Florida, Iowa State, and Cincinnati. Tomorrow with the ACC championship game, I personally do believe that Clemson is going to win. And if Clemson wins, that takes care of it. That leaves only the number 4 spot. And that's where the arguments really begin. If Ohio State wins, and whether it be Florida wins or Iowa State, who's rated ahead of Florida, who deserves to make it? Now, if Florida beats Alabama, I believe Iowa State chances are done. Even though they're same on record, if Florida goes out and beats the number 1 team in the country, they do deserve it more than Iowa State. So, and in that lot, I forgot a team to mention fighting for the 4th seed, who's not even in a championship game, that being Texas A&M, who's currently sitting at the 5th spot in the country. So if Ohio State wins, Florida wins, and Texas A&M, of course, being idle, who deserves to make it out of those 3 teams? Ohio State comes in undefeated, never lost, as the wise LeVar Ball has said. Their big discredit is that they have played less games, and they also have played a weaker schedule. Now they played Indiana, who is ranked, and they struggled. However, they still won that game. But the fact that they've played 6 games could end up costing them in the long run. Then you look at Florida, they do have 2 losses. They lost last week in a very, very, very heartbreaking fashion. Marco Wilson picking up somebody's shoe and throwing it downfield, because that's always a good idea. losing to LSU, which game they definitely should have won. However, they were in a position where they were coming into the game as 23-point favorites, and they should not have been in a position where Marco Wilson throwing a shoe decides whether they win or lose the game. So they have really been blessed by the committee to only be ranked 7th. The two other main polls, the AP poll and the coaches poll, if you look at them, they have Florida dropping all the way out of the top 10 and 11. However, after this loss, the college football committee, which is who decides who makes the college football playoff or not, they've only dropped them down to 7. They've only dropped them down one spot. And to me, that means they're still in it. If the college football playoff says, hey, you just lost to an unranked team at home, but we're only dropping you to one spot lower, if I'm Ohio State, I'm really looking at that side-eye because they come in undefeated. Florida comes in with 2 losses already, being one of these losses being to an unranked team at home. And Ohio State looking at Florida is like, why do they deserve it more? The only argument really could be for less games because Ohio State's obviously won more games. However, if Florida wins and Ohio State wins, that's going to put the committee in a very tough position. Do you put somebody who is undefeated but has played 4 less games, or do you put somebody who is won the SEC champion, was already rated as highly as number 7, and of course the team that they beat being Alabama? So, what happens through all this? I've broken it down as to what does each team need of all these teams that are fighting for spots. What does Alabama need? Nothing. They need to come out and not get embarrassed. However, even if they do get embarrassed, I still think they're in. They're a lock. Notre Dame, they definitely are more liable or have more possibility to drop than Alabama does. I don't think they're going to drop out either. I don't think, for one, that they're going to lose by, let's say, 40 points. However, even if they do lose by 40, I don't know if they get bumped out for a team like Texas A&M or Florida or Iowa State. What does Clemson need? Now, if Clemson loses, that'd be 2 losses against Notre Dame. So what does Clemson need to do? Clemson just needs to win. Trevor Lawrence is back. They can't lose to the same team twice. With their best quarterback in the country, they can't lose to Notre Dame twice. If they lose to Notre Dame twice, that's what opens the door for these other teams. That's what opens the door for a team like Texas A&M to come in, who they're not playing this week, so they have no chance to improve themselves. And I'll get to them later, of course. But Clemson just needs to take care of their work, and they're in. Ohio State, of course, all these teams need to win. The very first thing out of my mouth for every single this team except Texas A&M, who doesn't even play, the first thing I'm going to say is win. So I'm just going to put that out there now. But what Ohio State needs is, of course, that win, and to Florida not to blow out Alabama. If Florida wins, but wins by, let's say it's a 28-24 Florida win. Do you want an undefeated team, just won their conference championship, or again, that Florida resume, which has 2 losses, one being really bad already, and Ohio State's already in the top 4 anyways, so are you going to move a team from 7 up to 4 and bump that 4 down? I think that only happens if Florida comes out and just beats the crap out of Alabama. And Alabama's the best team in the country, so how likely is that? Now, Texas A&M, outside of Cincinnati, who I've forgotten about for the most part of this video, and for obvious reason when I get to it, Texas A&M needs a few teams to lose. First of all, they need Clemson to lose, because Clemson loses, they get knocked out no matter what. They've lost 2 times to the same team, they're gone. And as well as Clemson losing, they need either Florida, Ohio State, and possibly even Iowa State. I mean, well, when I say possibly, it might be needing 2 of those 3. If Clemson loses, however, Ohio State wins, do you want to bump up a team who hadn't played in their conference championship, or are you bumping up one of 2 conference champions, being Iowa State and Florida? And for me, Texas A&M it's got to be a very painful position to be in, because they can't prove their worth. They can't show off what they are and say like, hey, we deserve to be here. They have to rely on other teams to lose. And I do think they're kind of screwed in all this, because I don't think Florida Clemson, and Ohio State are all going to lose. Certainly, I don't think Clemson and Ohio State are going to lose. Florida losing, yeah, that helps. However, there's still that chance of Clemson wins, or if Ohio State wins and then Clemson loses, or Ohio State loses. There's still a chance of Iowa State being bumped up. So I really do feel bad for Texas A&M because they have nothing that they can just. There's no way of proving themselves. That brings us to Florida. Florida, there's a possibility that all it could take is Clemson or Ohio State losing. One of those two, of course. However, if Clemson drops, like I was just talking about Texas A&M, who's the committee going to value? And after last week's game, I would have said Florida should be the team that gets bumped down. However, a number 7 team in the country who won their conference and a number 5 team that didn't, I'm going to put Florida ahead of Texas A&M and find the committee. They decided that Florida still has pretty high value. And if Florida comes out and beats Alabama, and either Clemson or Ohio State lose, especially if they beat Alabama somewhat convincingly, based on their current rankings, I think they're in. Even I know I'm a Gators fan, so of course sounds kind of biased. And personally, I don't think they do deserve to be in after last week's game because should have won that game convincingly. And it comes down to the last drive where one of your players throws a shoe down the field. LSU makes a field goal. You miss the field goal. Shouldn't have that position in the first place. However, they did. So now they're here, but they're not out of the top 10. They're number 7. So if they beat Alabama, either Clemson or Ohio State loses, they're probably in. As crazy as that is just for me to hear as a Gators fan myself. Clemson wins, Ohio State loses, or Ohio State wins, Clemson loses. I think the Gators are going to be in. That moves us to Iowa State. They're going to need a little bit more than just wins and losses on this one. They're going to need both Florida to lose, Clemson to lose, and maybe also Ohio State to lose. Iowa State, I don't believe, has had the resume where even if they do win their conference, they're playing Oklahoma in the conference championship game. I don't believe Oklahoma could beat Iowa State and then get in based on where they are in the rankings, and they've had 2 ugly losses at the beginning of the year. I don't believe Iowa State has the pedigree so far this season to say, hey, let's put them in over Texas A&M. If it comes down to either or, for me, Texas A&M is getting in. 1 loss. Iowa State's lost to a team like Louisiana, University of Louisiana, not Louisiana State. And yeah, Louisiana is ranked as things stand. However, they're not a team to take that serious. So Florida loses, Clemson loses, Ohio State loses, and then they pray that the committee says, hey, you know what? We value them over Texas A&M. That's the only chance I really see Iowa State getting it. And then, of course, that leaves us with the last team on this list being Cincinnati, who needs Florida, Clemson, Ohio State, and Iowa State all to lose, as well as win their conference. And then also pray that all those teams losing, Texas A&M would be bumped up also, and just praying that the committee doesn't bump up Oklahoma all the way in front of them. That's all. I'm sure that was a lot for everybody to take in. It's a lot of winning and losing, but we can speculate all I want or not. I shouldn't say that. That's what I'm actually about to get to. We can look at all the what ifs we want, but what really is probably going to happen? What I think is going to happen, SEC championship, I think Bama's going to win. I think Bama's going to win convincingly, retaining their number 1 spot. I do think Clemson is going to flip the script on what happened earlier this year and beat Notre Dame. So that locks in both Alabama, or not both, but all 3 of Alabama, Clemson, and Notre Dame. I don't think it's going to be bad enough a loss for Notre Dame to get kicked all the way out. And then if you leave it down to Ohio State winning their game versus Texas A&M, who doesn't even play, I do think that the Final Four is going to come down to, in this order, Alabama, Clemson. I'll say that they're probably going to put Ohio State over Notre Dame because you don't want to see 3 matchups of the same team, 2 teams over a course of 1 season. So Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Notre Dame is going to be my predicted Final Four. No bold predictions, unfortunately. I don't think Florida has much of a chance against Alabama this week. I don't think Iowa State has the pedigree so far this season to say, hey, we deserve a chance over any of these teams. So I do think it's going to come down to the big boys. However, I would really love to see some chaos, and I really, really would love to see my Florida Gators finally get into college football playoff, which still currently haven't ever since college football playoffs existed. So please let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think is going to happen tomorrow when it comes to all the big games? Do you see some upsets? Do you see just the bog standard predicted winners to win? Please let me know in the comments down below. Please, everybody, say goodbye to this camera. So, because hopefully by the time I want to record my next video, I will have an SD card in this new camera. Love this baby. Hopefully that everything goes well with this. Hopefully don't break it in the meantime. Need to get a SD card, and I don't know if you can see this, but right there it says 57. Oh, you also heard that little nice noise. 57 times zoom. So it is a very close up lens, or the camera records very close up. I don't know a lot of the lingo for cameras yet, but it's very close. So I do want to get a lens that pushes everything back a little bit. Once again, I don't even know what that's called. Wide frame? I don't know. Sounds like it might be right. So hopefully following this video, I'll have that taken care of. But for now, my name is Jacob. This has been JK Sports. Please let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Please like, please subscribe, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye.